Yo, what is up, guys? Welcome back to another video. In today's video, we're going to be doing, what if Germany broke up into a draft war? I'm sorry for the really bad borders. It is my greatest apologies for any German viewers out there. I drew these by hand. I'm really sorry. And also, guys, the videos that you guys have been watching is from like 2 years ago. I'm recording this in 2026 right now. So happy 2026. Yeah. But yeah, those videos were recorded in 2024. I just kind of like lost motivation to post videos, but I'm back. I regained the motivation. I'm back, and I want to post more. So yeah, let's get right into the video. But what happened is, well, the German states they just had a little disagreement, and well, they got into a draft war. So the German, you have the two city states, Hamburg and Berlin. They're obviously gonna be the ones that they're gonna be the ones that get to decide who's on whose team. Like, yeah. So we're gonna start with the red. We're gonna start with Berlin. Berlin's red. So Berlin's obviously gonna be taking the state around it, and then Hamburg is going to be taking the next one, and then Berlin's going to be taking, yeah, it's just going to be draft war normal. It's going to be a normal draft war, right? But obviously, Berlin's going to try to stay pretty close to Berlin. Well, they're going to be able to go out pretty far. Well, Hamburg's going to be able to go far. Berlin's going to want to stay closer to their home territory, because, well, Berlin, you gotta understand that the eastern states are not the strongest because of the USSR, but that's why Berlin has kind of shot out and gotten all of this. If you guys don't know what a draft war is, it's when one side and then chooses a country, in this case a state, but it chooses a country, and that's on their team, and then another country chooses, another country chooses a country, and like it just goes back and forth, and that's what I'm doing right now. So yeah, right now it's looking something like this, and the red team is making some pretty good choices, but not the best choices. So yeah, these are pretty fair teams, I feel like. Yeah, I did think about like probably throwing like Denmark in here, because like it's not that big of a war right now, but it's all good. If I have to, I will. So yeah, this is what it looks like, and I'm gonna quickly take a thumbnail screenshot. So give me 1 second. Okay, sorry about that. Yeah, let's just get right into the video. So as you can tell, the war does start off pretty evenly. We're going to say that all states are about the same strength, just to make it more fair. You're going to have, obviously the smaller states be weaker, but the bigger states stronger, but not, we're going to make them about the same strength, just for this video. So, you have a pretty large scale invasion of this one. And yes, I do have capitals here, just to make it easier for you guys, and for me. Now, it starts getting pushed in pretty rapidly, but the blue team's not just a pushover. They are doing pretty well themselves, and they are able to start a pretty large invasion up here in the north of I don't even know what these states are called, I'm sorry, but of this state. And even yeah, the Hamburg team is able to do pretty well with their invasion. And well, don't just say that like this is one-sided, because like this video is going to be short. I will not lie, this video is probably going to be shorter than my other ones. And well, we'll see what the borders look like after, because I will draw a peace treaty for this, because the video is going to be shorter. But we're going to have an invasion coming from over here in the north, right? And then down here in the south, the red team also is able to. I'm sorry, I sneezed. Um, I'm sorry, guys. But the red team is able to take out all of this, and they are doing pretty well. But the blue team is still not a weak team, and they are able to push along and take this western areas. And if they can cut them off from the sea, that's any support. Like, let's say someone was sending support over to the red team, that will cut off all support to the red team. Also, they're able to get to pretty close to the capital up here, which was pretty scary, but still nothing really major happened. Down here in the south, the blue team's doing pretty good for themselves. The red team forces is mostly like focused on like this area over here, like this area right here, because this land's the most important. Because if they take Berlin, it's practically over, and they're mostly focused like along here, right? Because they want to hold this at least, right? Because that makes it the shortest front line to hold technically. Because this, I feel like, is longer than this. You know, so if they can hold this, then because if not Frankfurt, if Hamburg falls, then practically the blue team's gonna be out. So the blue team's invasion is going really really well down here in the south. But up in the north, not in the north, but more so in the east, the blue team is still falling apart, ing on itself, and well, would other countries get involved in this just to grab some land? Probably. But the first capital does fall. Okay, that's not worth it. But yeah, so no, that it is okay. Never mind. But you know, the first capital does fall, and well, it is a very major time because it's the first capital that falls. The country isn't out of the war; it's just a big morale blow. But the country does start to they're practically non-existent. But the second capital decides to fall, and it's down here to the blue team, which is really really good for the blue team because it's a morale booster, saying we can go toe to toe with them, and they're not too far ahead of us. And the blue team troops does just barely sneaking through here, and they are just the blue team's doing really good down here in the south. Where they're not doing so good is literally over. Not literally. They're not doing so good over here in this province, but that's because they're cut off. And well, their main this province slash state is mostly focused in on connecting up with the actual team, so they are able to meet up with their actual team and cut off the rest of the country and this small country off from the rest of the red team, which is really really bad. But the red team is doing really good with this invasion, and they are pushing really fast into the blue, the southern blue, the southernest blue, and they eventually end off. It does. They are able to. The blue team is able to stop it with new support reaching down there. So yeah, it's not looking too terrible for them, but it's not good for them either. Right? Oh shoot. I forgot to get rid of this line. It's all good, guys. I can quickly fix it. See? All fixed. But the blue team is going to be doing finally some pushbacks, which is like the first pushbacks that we see this war. Also out here, down here in the south of this state, they do some pushing back as well. Very little in this country, but still mostly getting pushed out. And well, the blue team is able to enter the next capital and enter the state that's technically protecting Berlin, which is very important, but it's literally the miners' entrance. It's literally right here, those two places right there. Right. So, with this, it's really mind-blowing that the blue team's still trucking along. The next capital does fall to the blue team because the red team got really prepared for this. And well, the red team decides to walk back in because they went from being like probably the best to the worst, and they're not falling behind. But don't worry, the red team comes back with a major hit to the blue, with them pushing them away from Frankfurt, which was a very vital point for the blue to reach, and push them away and out of the country, pushing them farther back, and even taking back a lot, some lost land, and pushing farther and deeper into the state, and retaking this land out down here in the south, and reconnecting the whole front line. But up here in the north, it's still not going so great for the for the red, because the red team is now being pushed in farther and harder than they ever have been. And a lot of red team countries are starting to throw their military up north, because, as I said, if Berlin or Hamburg falls, the war is practically over. Also, I forgot to give this island to the Germans, so we'll just give them that now. Because, well, yeah, I just forgot. My bad, guys. But it's all good. I gave them back to the proper state. But the Germans, they are definitely struggling. Well, old Germans. These are old Germans. I don't know what I'm saying at this point. This video is kind of confusing because they're old German people, you know. Frankfurt's no longer in danger anymore. Well, nearly not half as much danger. And finally, they've re-entered this province and started to liberate it. So it's going pretty well. But down here, they do get pushed away from the blue capital. Not too far, but still far enough. And troops in the actual country do get encircled. Because, well, it was kind of like the whole big plan. They were going to encircle a whole bunch of troops in there, but it didn't really go so successfully. So now we're ending off like this. So the blue is now starting to struggle more and more, and finally the red team has been able to make a new entrance in towards the blue. But the blue team does lock back in, and they are able to push back farther into start pushing back down towards Frankfurt. But the red team is pretty quick to react. Down here in the south, the blue team is like practically at the next capital, but it's the smallest province. What do you really expect? Well, not province, state. What do you expect? But they're still holding out, knowing that allies are on their way. And well, this province does, I don't know, guys. This province right here, I don't know province's name. The one with Frankfurt in it, they do really, really well with the pushing back, and they're able to liberate the capital and say that this country's now back, which is a very major defeat for the blue, and it's a very big success for the red. And well, the red team starts to threaten encirclement of this blue team's capital. Right up here in the north again, this country is like practically surrendered. They literally only have 1 pixel left. And then, but they are able to start pushing back a little bit down here closer to Berlin, because, as I said, a lot of people were just throwing troops up there. But up here in the north, practically the whole north has surrendered at this point, and it looks something like this. And well, this war would probably ending a stalemate. How long have I been recording for? 15 minutes. Okay, yeah. As I said, guys, this video is definitely going to be a shorter video, and I'm sorry about that. I would love to make this a really long video, but that's impossible. But finally, the red team's troops are now able to set up a proper front line along here. So they decide to go around the stalemated front line, which is this front line right here, right? This whole white line is stalemated. And right here isn't stalemated. Like, we're not focusing on the south though. We're mostly focusing on the north right now. So, the red team is going to lock in and send a bunch of troops over to this province, well, state. I keep on saying provinces, I don't know why. Over into the state. And it ends up looking something like this, with the Germans able to practically push them fully out and start a new invasion into this state. So, the red team is more so literally, this is literally practically east and a west war, because you have most of them are on, actually it's kind of a 50-50. It's weird, I don't know, I'm sorry guys. But yeah, you have the small red province able to do some attacks, pushing them away from the capital a little bit. Not too much, but they still are able to do some stuff, which is very impressive. But the blue team decides to finally pull out of this country completely, which means that they did some rearranging. They do push back in eventually, taking this land back, just making sure that they can't get fully invaded. But this is now going to open up a whole new front line, because like a couple thousand troops, like 10,000 troops just went back to the homeland. And well, that's obviously a very large amount of troops, so they end up pushing all the way out to here, and it is, well, very important, right? The red team is now able to push the rest of this little area out, and up here, the borders have barely moved, but they are moving in the red team's favors. By barely moved, they have moved quite a bit, I guess. But that's because they were flooding troops over here. But the whole border is being rearranged by both sides. Finally, the next capital falls, and it was very shocking, because this front line was just stalemated like weeks ago. Now it's not, because of the rearrangement of troops. Up here in the north, this province falls because they were pretty weak, but now they both have one full province under control, which they kind of did. They could have had two, but they kind of like pulled out of that province, but that's honestly for the best, because they're doing really well now. And well, they're able to push all the way out till here. And well, the red team is now starting to worry a little bit, so they do lock in up here in the north and push back a couple pixels. But other than that, it gets stalemated up here in the north. But down here in the south, it has not still been stalemated, and the next capital does fall. Well, kind of falls. They're still here, but like not fully. Like about half like 90% of the capital's fallen at this point. Literally, this pixel right there hasn't fallen. So they decide to fall back out of the capital, because it'd be less dangerous out of the capital. So that's what they do, and eventually those troops were just surrendered, either were killed or surrendered, sadly. But the continuation invasion does happen until they realize that they're not gonna be able to get supplies anytime soon, and they are out of supplies, and they don't really have any Alps to rely on. They're right beside the Alps, but they don't have many to rely on. So eventually they do surrender, and that is another country under the blue team's belt. Now, the blue team is starting to face more and more defeats than they are successes. So by this point, they have now decided to set up a new defensive line. This defensive line is sitting along this line right here. It holds... Wait, no, that's wrong. This defensive line... No, that's wrong as well. This defensive line right here. Because this holds 4 major areas. Number 1 is this northern capital. Number 2, this capital. Number 3, the actual, like, the main area that they're protecting, Hamburg, and then this major city. So, with all of this said, that like 10,000, like 50,000 troops actually are now flooding all the way over there. And it's said that the red team has around 100,000 and the blue has around 75,000. So, by the end of it, the borders look something along the lines of this. Right? Because the blue team, they know they've lost. They know that they can't hold on for much longer. So, their goal is just to put all 75,000 men on a short border and try to hold that border at all costs. Wait, hold up. We're going to give them back some of this country because they are still trying to hold that. But most of the red team is like... The red team was practically destined to win, I feel like. So yeah. There is they literally do, the red team's literally winning at this point. There's no really coming back from this. So, yeah, I'll drop the peace treaty because it did get stalemated. So I will see you guys in a second. Okay guys, so I've come up with the peace treaty, and the peace treaty looks like this. So you can see it with the provinces, right? You can see that they still have some of the cities, right? So you have the blue team. They are still in the area that they were able to hold, and yes, this province does become like the part of the province that they were able to hold that was a part of the red. Okay, the red province that the blue team was able to keep control of, they were able to split in half. And if we were to put this back on, this layer back on, you can see that perfectly right here. And well, Germany is now split into 2. Last time this happened, they united after like 45 years, maybe longer. I don't remember. So yeah. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I know I enjoyed making for you guys. So yeah. If you guys don't forget to like and subscribe. It will help with the channel, and also share the video. Please do. Make clips from it. Do anything. Just we gotta grow the channel. My goal is to reach 200 subscribers by 2027. I know we can do it if we try hard enough, so we got this, guys. But yeah, thank you guys for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I will get you guys in the next one. Peace out.